Hello friends, welcome back to the another video, and in this video we are going to learn everything about HTML5. Yes, you heard it right. So this video is going to be a long video and we will be starting from a very basic tools and setup and then eventually ending up with building web pages. We will first see all about the HTML elements and how we can use them, and then I am going to show you how you can build your own profile page. Profile page, I mean not your Facebook or Instagram profile page. We will be building this profile page. You can see this is my profile page where you can find all about me and my interests. We will be building this using HTML5 semantics. I have a header with logo as my name and the navigation bar. You can see I have menu items, section for each items. So the purpose of this tutorial is to have make you learn HTML. So whether you are a student or just started your career, I believe you must have your profile website to share with others about you. I mean, it makes you a little cool. So if you are excited, then watch this video till the end and let's get started. So this HTML tutorial is for beginners. You don't need to know anything as prerequisites to follow this tutorial. After this tutorial, we will go along with CSS and JavaScript in the coming videos. So make sure you go along and make the most out of these tutorials by subscribing my channel and press the bell icon so that you get a notification as soon as I upload a new tutorial. I guarantee you, once you watch this complete video, you will not have to worry about HTML in future. We will be covering everything that you will require to build web pages. So before we begin, I would like to highlight some points. This course is designed for beginners, and if you are an experienced in HTML, then you might get bored at some point. So if you want to check for some specific topics, you can check the contents of this course in the description below and you can jump directly. Next point I want to highlight is this course is heavily focused on HTML5 elements with no too little CSS. To keep you interested, we will go through some slides and examples. And we all have to accept that HTML without CSS is ugly. So let's start with what is HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Yes, it is not a programming language, it is a markup language. It is a standard markup language for creating web pages. It defines the structure of the web page with HTML elements. HTML tells the browsers how the content to be displayed. Now, why it is necessary to learn HTML? As HTML is the core of web development, widely used and supported by all the browsers. Without HTML, no content can be viewable on the browsers. Every page we witness on the internet is written in HTML. So what do we need to go along with this course? We only need two things. The first is the web browser and the second one is the code editor. We will be using Chrome as a web browser and Visual Studio Code as the editor. So let's install them. You can find the links for Google Chrome and Visual Studio Code in the description below. So this is the official website of Google Chrome and you can download it. You can see there is a download button and you can click and download the installer file. Once you have the installer file, you just need to open the installer file and then you need to follow the instructions. So this is the official website of Visual Studio Code and you can download it from here or here. You can select your operating system and then you can download it. Once you get the installer, you just need to open the installer and click next, 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 and it's done. Okay, so after doing the installation of code editor and browser, the next thing I will do is I'll create a folder and name it as HTML tutorial. Okay, and then I will launch my Visual Studio Code. Okay, so this is the Visual Studio Code and now I will open the folder I created. So, okay, I'll select the folder. Yep, And so now I have the HTML tutorial folder into my Explorer. The next thing I'm going to do is I will create a new file and name it as first page dot. You need to specify the extension of the file. The extension is .html, and I will write some text here. This is my first HTML page. Okay, I'll save the file and I will run this document in the browser. So I will go to my folder again, and as we have put the HTML extension, so the browser renders the HTML document. So you can see here there is a Chrome icon. Now let me open it in the browser. Yeah, here we go. So I can see here this is my first HTML page. And now let me add some more text. I love programming, and save. And as soon as I save, I need to refresh my browser. And yes, you can see I love programming. But the problem with this document is that it is not a valid HTML document. So let's create a valid HTML document. One good thing I would like to show about Visual Studio Code is it has an Emmet abbreviation. I will show you what is Emmet abbreviation. If I type exclamation, you can see that it tells me Emmet abbreviation. And when I hit enter, I get a boilerplate code of my HTML document. Now we will understand this HTML boilerplate code line by line. Let's start with the doc type. The doc type tells that this is an HTML5 document. So I will not confuse you with the previous doc types. Like before HTML5, there was HTML4. So if the browser wants to know that this particular HTML document is HTML4 or HTML5, it checks the doc type. So so just remember it that the doc type helps you to know that this is an HTML document. The next is HTML tag. So the HTML document starts with the HTML tag and ends with the HTML tag. And it is the root element. All the other elements you can see are inside the root element. Next is the head element. Whatever we type in the head element is not displayed on the browser. So, so what is the purpose of this head element then? So the head element contains all the meta information of a website. Uh, Meta information as in you can say that what will be the title of my document. So let me show you. So here you can see there is a title. Now I will change the title to my profile page, and I will save it. As soon as I save it, if I want to see it on the browser, and I need to refresh it. So currently you can see that my file name is displayed here, but now I have updated the title. Let me refresh it. As soon as I refresh it, I can see my profile name as the title. Next thing is we will see what are these meta tags. So let's understand the meta charset UTF-8. This is called character encoding. So whatever you type A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, and when this document is rendered by the browser, it renders in the human readable form, which is the character set UTF-8. Next is the meta viewport. We add meta viewport so that our website looks good in all devices. Let me show you an example. You can see this is the reference I am using from W3 School. It's a very good website and resources to get all the web development technologies. And I will show you one thing. Yeah. Now you can see that there are two examples. The one is without the meta viewport tag, and the second one is with the meta tag. So you can see the difference. If we don't put the meta tag, then the content will not take the complete width available on the device. But if we put it, then the content will consume all the space that is available on the device. Next, we will add description for our website. So I will write a new meta name as description, and I will add content as this is my personal website. So now I have added the description to my website. Next, I can also add the keyword meta. So keyword and content HTML tutorial for beginners. So these meta tags are useful for the search engine. So whenever the search engine crawls your web page, it looks for these meta tags and information in it, and that helps for the search engines to search your website. So apart from this, we can also add few more details. We can add style tag, where we can add the CSS. You write all the CSS styles here. Next, you can also add scripts here, and you add your JavaScript code here. And apart from that, you also have a link tag, link rel equals to style sheet, and then you give href to your style. So all these informations you can put in the head. You can have your meta tags here, you can have your title of the page, you can have your styles here, you can have your JavaScript, and you can add any external style sheet like style.css. Although we don't have a CSS here, but you can add it here. So this is all about the head tag. Next is the body tag. So whatever we write in the body tag is displayed on the browser. So let's see, this is my web page, and I will save it. Now let's see it on the browser. If I go back to the browser, I can see this is my web page. So now we have understood all the boilerplate code of the HTML document. Okay, so now you must have noticed this. As soon as we change anything in our document, we need to refresh our browser. So we can get rid of this problem, and we just need to install one extension called Live Server. You can click on this extension icon and you can search for Live Server. And you can click on it and you can click on install. I have already installed it, so it's showing me uninstall, but you can install it. Once you have installed it, it may require you to reload the code editor. So the next thing what we will do is, now if I want to start this with live server, you can see there is a small icon below called go live. I'll just click on it and it will start my live server. So now we can see if I go to localhost 5500, then it shows me all the documents in the directory. So I can click here and now you can see this is my first web page. Now let me show you, let me minimize this so that we can have both the screens together. And now let me show you, if I change, this is my web page and I am loving it. And as soon as I save it, you can see that the data is getting updated. I don't need to refresh my browser anymore. So one thing I want to show before we move to the header elements, that is, if you want to see the source of this page, you can just click Control and U to view the source of this page, or you can right click and then you can do view page source. So in this way you can see the source of your page. Okay, and one is the browser dev tools. You can click on inspect and you can inspect your elements here. Whatever you have, whatever you type, you can inspect it. So you can see that this is the code which I have in my body tag, which is being displayed on the browser. So you can notice that how we write an HTML tag. An HTML tag is written as, you write a tag name and you have an end name, and you have a content in between. So this is how you write an HTML tag. But you will notice that some tags are self-closing, like we saw the meta tag. They don't have a content in between. And the example of self-closing tags are like BR, which is break line, image, and we will see all the self-closing tags as we go along the course. So now let's start with heading tag. So HTML offers a 6 heading tag starting with H1 to H6, and H1 is termed as the most important one and H6 is the least important one. So let's type some content here, heading, and as soon as I save it, you can see this is the heading tag. You can consider a heading tag as if you are reading a book and you want to skim the content of the book, you go by heading. You just see the heading and you understand that, yeah, this must be the content inside this particular heading. So whenever a Google search engine crawls the page, it looks for the headings. And with the headings, it understands the page structure. So the headings are very important for a web page. So let's see all the headings, and I will show you one more thing with the emit, that if I want to repeat my code, I will just write h1 and I want it by 5 times. So you can see that now I have 5 h tags. So I will just change them one by one to show you all the headings, and 3, 4, 5, 6, and this one is 2. This is HTML document, and I will just copy it everywhere. And I'll save the. So you can see that each of the heading tag have defined its font size. So if we go and inspect and see, let me change it to bottom. And if you see that this is the heading tag, and there is by default the margin applied to this by the browser, and you can see here that this is the default styling that is applied by the browser, and each one will have its own styling. So these are the heading tags, and it's really important while using the heading tags are you use heading tag only for the purpose of heading, not for if you want to make a normal font as a bold, you don't use a heading for it, because heading has a very important role when it comes to the Google indexing and page crawling. So now next, okay, let me have an HR. So you can see this HR will help you to have a horizontal line to divide the content. Now let's look at the paragraph tag. So from the name itself, you can know that the paragraph tag is used for the paragraph, and we define the paragraph tag as P. One important thing to notice is that HTML tags are not case sensitive. Whether you write P small or you write P capital, it doesn't have any impact. I will just add some dummy content. You can add a dummy content, the lorem ipsum. You just write lore and you will have the content. Yeah. Now you can see that I have added the dummy content, and this is the paragraph tag. You can see. So the paragraph, if I inspect and see that what default styling the paragraph gets from the browser, yes, the paragraph gets default margin top and bottom. So let's add some more content to the other paragraph tag as well, and let's save it. Yep. So now we can see that we have 2 paragraph tags. So a paragraph always starts from a new line, and the browser will add some margin on the top and the bottom. So there is a famous problem in HTML called the poem problem. I will just add the code here, and you can see that this is a poem, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And the problem here is if I add this in because this is a poem. So if I add this and if I save it, you will see that all the content gets in the same line, but I don't want it in this way. So there is a special tag in HTML which is called pre-formatting tag, and let me use that pre-formatting tag. We call it as pre-formatting tag, and we will just write it pre and pre, and we will save it. So when I use the pre-formatting tag, you can see that the content doesn't shift on a single line. It displays the as it is the way I have wrote it in my HTML document. So there is one thing, if you want to break the line forcefully, like this is a paragraph tag and I want the content to be in a new line, then I add a break tag. A break is also a self-closing tag or an empty tag, and if I save it, you can see there is a break. Now the content has a break in it. Next, let me put a horizontal tab again so that we have a horizontal line. Next, let's look for the formatting content, HTML formatting elements, if we want to do formatting of the content. So that can be done, and I will just copy this lorem ipsum code again so that I can have a formatting here, and I will add the code. I don't want br tag. So now you can see the content here, and we will just add some formatting to it. If I want to make something bold, then I will add bold tag, which is B, and I will add the content in between. So I'll just add the content in between, and you can see the content becomes bold. The other one is the strong tag. So the bold tag and the strong tag are very similar in nature, but the strong tag is used when you need to specify something very important. So let me add a strong tag here. I add a strong tag and let me add some content in between. So I'll just cut this content and I'll paste it and I'll say it here. So now you can see this is the strong tag. They both looks very similar in nature, but they have a different meaning. Bold will make just the content bold, but the strong tag will specify the importance. Next, if I want to change my content, like while reading some content, I want to change it to some other mood, then I will use italic, or a different vocal, then I use italic. So I stands for italic tag. So let me show you italic, and you can see this lorem ipsum dollar, it became an italic. And a similar other one we have is the emphasize tag. If we want to emphasize uh, on some words, if we want to emphasize on some words, then we use emphasize tag, that is em. And let me put the em here and save. So you can see the italic and emphasize, they both looks very similar in nature, but it's all about vocal, how you read it. One, when you say emphasize, that means you emphasizing on a particular word, but it makes a difference in reading, but when you visually see it, it doesn't makes you any difference. Next is, if you want to make some words small, then you can use small tag. So let me use a small tag and I'll cut it and I'll put it here and I will save it. So now you can see that this tempora at a Q is in a small font as compared to the other fonts. Next, if you want to highlight some content, let me highlight it. So I will use mark, and the mark will highlight the content. So you can see now the content is highlighted. So if you want to highlight any content, you use mark tag. Next, I will show you if we want to delete some content, then we will use delete del tag, which will just strike off the content, and let me show. So you can see this, the content is striked off now. So this is the delete tag. Now, if you want to insert some text in between, so I will use insert tag, which is ins, and I will show you what it looks like. And it will show an underline in between. That means this particular word is inserted in between the sentence. Next, we have superscript and subscript. So we all know superscript. If we want some text to be at the superscript, control X, and I'll just paste it. Then you can see the text is superscript. And if I want to do a subscript, then I will use sub. And I will just cut it and I'll put it here. So this is, sorry, I put it super again, but it should be subscript, S-U-B. And this is subscript. So these are the HTML formatting tags. So what tags we used here is we use bold, we use strong, we use italic, we use emphasize text, then we use mark to highlight the content, then we use del to strike off the content or delete the content, then we use ins, which is to insert the content in between the sentence, then we use the superscript and the subscript. So these were all the HTML formatting tags. Now let's move on to the next HTML elements, that is HTML quotations. I haven't used HTML quotations much, but let me show you. This content belongs to some other sites. And from where it belongs to, let's use the quotation, and we can put a site here, and then we put a content. So let me use Wikipedia. So okay, and let me search HTML. Okay, so you can see that we need some content, that this content was coming from a Wikipedia. I mean, if you want to display that some content is coming from a different source, then you use a block quote and you put the site name here. So I have added the site name here, and then I will add some content from here. I will add this content and I will add this content. Okay, and now you can see that it states that this content belongs to some other site, and although it doesn't show the website link anywhere, but when you use the block code, browsers automatically add some extra space and it looks like it's a block code from some other source. Next is a very important one, is the lists. Very useful, and we have three types of list. The first one is the unordered list. I can again use the emit and I will add three. So I will have three links here. Let me put HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, as these are the building blocks of any HTML page. If I save it, you can see there is a list. This is an unordered list. Let me add an HR tag here so that I get a division. So you can see that this is the unordered list, and usually we use list when we want to have a group. And the best example for using the unordered list is the menu bar, the menu items which we have in the website. Now, if you want to make it an ordered list, then I will just add OL as the ordered list, and I will again use the emit to get me LIs, and I will write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I will save it. So now you can see that we have an ordering. So although using some CSS, we can change the numbering, we can change the numbers to Roman numbers, or we can change the numbers to some different ABC, we can do it. And these two are the most widely used list. So this is ordered list. And let me add this as this is unordered list. And the third list we have is the description list. So let me add description, description list. And the description list starts with DL, that is description list. And we have a description tag first. And for each description, we have a description data. So let me add description tag as HTML, and I will add use for web pages. And similarly, we can use it for CSS, and I can write use for styling web pages. And then we have a JavaScript and use for adding interactivity on web pages. So now you can see that you have the description tag, and below you will see the description data. This is not much widely used. The most widely used are the ordered and unordered list. But yes, you never know. You may get some scenario where you want to display some list with their data and the tag. So the next tag is very important tag, and it's used heavily while developing web pages, is the link tag. Link tag. And link tags helps you to navigate from one page to another page. Like if you have a page 1 and page 2, if you want to go from page 1 to page 2, then you use link tag. And we use link tag with anchor tag A. And important thing is that every HTML tag can have attributes. So a link tag can have so the anchor tag can have an attribute of href, and in the href you can give the link of any website which you want, or any page where you want to navigate. So I'll just copy the page and I will add Wikipedia in it, and I will save it. So you can see when I save it, I get a link to a Wikipedia, and if I click on it, I will be landed to a Wikipedia page. We have now moved from our website to a Wikipedia website. But have you noticed that when we navigated from our page to other page, it loaded in the same tab of the browser. So if we want to go back, we can click on the back here. But there is another option that if you want your page to be open in a new tab, then let me copy this again, and I will write Wikipedia in new tab, and you can add one more attribute here as target, and you can mention target underscore blank, and you can save it. Now if I click here, you will see that there is a separate tab, and it opens in a different tab. Let me add you one more link, href, and I will add one more link, and this link is my YouTube home page. And if I save it, then you can see there is one more tag which shows my YouTube home page. So I haven't added a target attribute on this anchor tag. So when I click on this link, it will load in the same tab. Another thing, if you have noticed that when you have already visited a link, the color gets changed. And now you can see here that this Wikipedia in the new tab is in a different color and my YouTube homepage is in different color because I haven't visited this link yet. And another thing is, as soon as you hover your cursor to the link, it changes to the hand icon. That means it is a clickable link. Another thing I would like to add about anchor tag is you can also add an href for mailing address. If I want to add mail to cs.depeshmalvia@gmail.com, and I will add send email to the page, and if I save it, then you can see that I get a link, and if I click on the link, it will prompt you to select the email application which you want to use to send an email. Cool. So the next thing is, let me put an HR here so that I get a line, horizontal line. Next is the images, how to put images in the HTML document. Yes, we can put images as well to make our web page look nice. And let me show how you can add. You add an image tag, then you need to add a source file as an attribute of your image, and then the image tag is a self-closing tag. So let's go to the folder and add some images. So I'll open my folder and I will add some images here. Okay, so now I have images, and let me add an image tag here. Let me open the browser here. Okay, so if I want to add an image, I can see here that I have an image name ugly smiley. So let me copy the file name, and I have just copied, and I will add it here, and I will add the extension .png, and I will save it. So as soon as I save it, you can see there is a big image. So one more thing we can do, for every image we add an alt tag, which is a fallback content if your image doesn't load in some case. So let me show you. I write here as smiley face, and I will save it. So currently you won't see the alt tag, but if you have a problem with the image, you miss the name or the path is not correct, and in that case, what will happen? In that case, you will have a broken image, but you will see that there is a smiley face. The whatever you write in the alt tag will be displayed here. Okay, let me make it correct again, and I have the. So the image tag has also attributes of width, where you can specify the width and you can specify the height of the image. So let me add as 200 and 200, and let me save it. And now you can see the dimension of the image is now 200 in width and 200 in height. So this is the image. So how we set the path of the image? Let's take one more example. I put AMG and source and okay. And now let me check. So if this is my HTML document, and immediately below it I have an image. So in that case, I can directly write the image because they both are in the same directory. But what if the directory is different? Because in actual cases, when we make the pages, we create a separate image folder. So if I want an image to be, if I want to give a source of the image, which is an images folder, then how we can give it? Then let me give it, then in that case, you write at slash images, and then you can add any image. Let me add this and let me save it. So you can see that now I go to one directory images, and then inside the images I search for my image, and let me add some height and width so that it becomes little small. It's too big on my screen, and I will add as 150 and 150. So now you can see that we have added images and these are the images. So with the images, you can make your HTML page look a little bit nice, and it's good to have images on the page. So next we will understand about what are the block level elements, block level and inline elements. Inline elements, 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 what I'm doing. So any element is called a block level element, as it will always start with a new line and it will always occupy or use the whole space that is available. So you can see that when we use this image tag, these both images, they came side by side. But if you observe that when we use the heading tag, why this h2 did not appear on the same line as that of h1? So you can say that H H1 to H6 are block level elements. Then you have div as a block level element. Then you have a paragraph as a block level element. But on the other hand, if you use span, which is an inline element, if you use images, which is an inline level element, if you use anchor tag, which is an inline element, these tags doesn't require, I mean, these tags doesn't start with a new line, or they doesn't occupy the whole space. They will only occupy the space which is required by them. So let me give you a small example, and I will show you that if I have a p tag and I will write some lorem ipsum. Okay, so this is a p tag and I write a lorem ipsum content in it, and let me use a span in between. So I will use a span and I will write my name here, Dipesh Malviya, and I save it. You will see that it only occupies the space which is required by it. It did not occupy the whole space. But on the other hand, let me add a div tag. I will add a div tag here, although it's not good to add a div tag in a paragraph tag, but just for an example, you can see now the lorem ipsum, it takes the whole width. Let me inspect it and then show you so that it's more clear. So I will click here, I will add this. You can see if I click here and if I add this, it occupies the whole space. That means this div is starting with a new line and it's a block level, it blocks the whole space. And if on the other hand, if I try to look for the span, you can see the span, it only takes the space is required. It doesn't take the whole space. So this is the major difference between inline elements and block level elements. Okay, so let's have the next one should be tables. Let's start with tables now. Tables are also important. We all know what tables do. If we want to add some, or if we want to arrange some data in the form of rows and columns, we use tables. Let me create a table. I'll create a table, and inside the table we have a row, and the first row we want to have a table head. I will write head as first name, first name, and I want two more table heads, first name, last name, and I want age. So this is the first row which will have the table heads, and now I will have the second row which will have table data. The first name is Dipesh, and the last name is Malviya, and my age is 28, and I will save it. And let me add one more. I'll add one more. Name is Sheldon and Cooper from the Big Bang Theory. And then I will write 29 and I'll save it. So you can see that this is the table. The first row is the table head and the next one is the data in the table. Let me give you another example. A good one is, yes, let me use this as an example. And in this example, you can see that I have only two columns. The first column is the country and the second column is the cities. So in this, you can see that we have two table heads, and first one is the country and second one is the cities. And I have used call span 2. That means it's the heading will be same for the two columns. So you can see that in the country, I have India, Germany, and the cities, I have two columns, Mumbai, Delhi, Berlin, and Frankfurt. So if you use call span 2, then you can use the same heading on two columns. And the third variation is if I want to use row span. So this I already have written the example, and in this you can see that you have a country, but you have cities which is having two rows in it. So let me add some style so that at least the table looks little nice. I'll just add the style, and now you can see that this is the table. So now it's a little bit more clear and visible. Can see I have an error because I have a commented code, and let me save it. Yeah. So if I remove this, then it will look like this border collapse. So these are the tables in HTML, and whenever we want to display the data in rows, columns, we can use the HTML table elements. Sorry, we can use the table element. So the next is the HTML forms. Forms we see everywhere. We use registration forms, application forms, online. So form is very important HTML elements. So we start with the form and we end with the form, and we use an input, and this input type, we add a type and this. So you can see that in the form we can have input type as text. We can input text, we can have a radio button, we can have a checkbox, we can have email, we can have date. There are, I think there are quite few, so we can use them. So let's create a small registration form, and let me add an HR here, and I will add an H2 tag, and we will write it as a registration form. Let me save it, and now let's have, so you can see now I have a text box because I wrote an input element, and the type attribute is we want to accept text, and name would be I will accept first name. Okay, and I can add a placeholder as well. Enter first name. So now you can see that we have a input element with which accepts the name. We can also add a label so that it looks little nice, and I will add label as first name, and I will save. I would like to give a break tag here so that I want it in a separate line. Okay, and this label is for, I will use this label is for my first name. Okay, so now I can copy this and I can use it for my last name as well. Last name, and I will just change it to last name, and I will make it last name. I want it in a new line, so I'll add a BR tag here. So now we have two input boxes. One accepts the first name, another one accepts the last name. Next, I will add the input. Let me add a gender, and I want it in a new line, and I will add input type equals to radio, and value is equals to for male, and name is equals to gender. Okay, So we can see we have a, okay, I need to add a label here. Sorry, this label would be male and this label should be near to this gender. And I want to remove this. So now you can see that I have a male and I want to add a similar one for female. I will add it for female. Value would be female and name will be gender. So now you can see if I select any one. So the next we will be using is checkbox and select. I have already created the code. Let me paste it to save some time and I don't repeat myself again and again. So I'll just explain it. Only the type changes to checkbox and you can see the value is cycling, cooking and reading. So the value is whenever you check cycling, you will have the value as cycling. Whenever you check the cooking, you will have the value as cooking. So this is the checkbox and the third is the select option. You can select the option. By default, I have chosen select option, the first one, and I can select from 26, 25, 10, whatever I can select. And the last is important one, the button. If you want to submit this form, then we need to have a button. So button type submit and I will add a text as submit. So now we can submit, we can fill this form and we can submit it. So if you want to submit it, there is an, yeah. So the form has an action and you can add the name of the page where you want to send this data. So let me add some information. I will add the page, Malvia, male, cycling, cooking, age is 26 to 40. And if I click on the submit, you will see that, let me get the information and I'll just paste it here for you to, so that you can see what information we have. So you can see that as soon as I put submit, I get my first name, I get my last name, I get my gender, my hobbies. So now you can see that this information we enter in the form can be passed to the server side for registration process. Okay, so these are forms. The next one is the iframes. So iframes are like if you want to display some other website on your HTML page, then you use iframe. So let me use an iframe and you have a source attribute and you can give a width. I want an iframe of 400 by 400, 400 and okay and 400. Let me make it as 400 is going big. Let me make it width as 250 and height as 250. Now let me have a small iframe, not too big. And in the source, I will add the Wikipedia link. So now let's see what it shows. Okay, so now you can see that I have another website in my web page. So I have the complete Wikipedia. I can write here HTML and I can make a search. Yep, and we get the content. We can also add YouTube links in iframes. So let me show you how you can add it. Can add it, then I will use the width as 300 this time and height as 300 and let me add a YouTube link and I have a YouTube link and you need to pick the embedded link of the YouTube. So as soon as I use the embedded link of YouTube, yep, there you go. You can see now I have added a YouTube video in my web page. So you can use the YouTube link as well. So this is all about iframe. So you can think that whenever you want to have a different website in to be displayed in your own web page, then you use iframe. Let's see next what we have. Next we have is the audio. Let's take audio and video together. So we can also add audio and video together. So let me show you how you can add. You have an audio tag. So in the audio tag, you have a source tag and you add a source in it, and you need to add the type attribute, and that's it. And let me add an HR tag here. And similarly for the video also, let me add a video also here. I will add a video and there will be a video, the type we will add, and let's add a video in our folder. Okay, so now I have added an audio file and a video file in my folder, and now let's give the source. So what is my audio file name? It's audio.mp3. And what is my video file name? It's endscreen.mp3. So we need to also give the type. It's audio/mpeg, or I can give it mp3, and video as video/mp4, and save. Let's see how it looks. Okay, I can see nothing is happening. Maybe we have missed something. Yes, when you use audio, you need to give controls as an attribute. Now let's save. So now you can see I have an audio tag. If I play this and I get a music, yo. And also we can see I have a video here. Let's play the video, and this is the video. So this was audio and video tag. You can use audio, video in your HTML pages to make it look nicer. And let's have an HR tag here. Next, let me show you the HTML semantics. So HTML gives us some specific elements which are used for a specific purpose. Like if you are using a website, then every website has a header. So the semantics will give you a header tag specially designed to have your header. Similarly, you will have a footer, you will have a nav for navigation, you will have a section for the page sections you have in the page, and then you will have a site for the site columns. So you remember in the start of this video, I showed you a website, a profile page, a web page which we are going to build. Yes, it's the time that now we have learned all the HTML elements, and now we will make this profile page HTML. We will be using HTML semantics to build the page. So now let's build that page. So what we will do, let me show you something for HTML semantics. We will go to the W3 School resources, and let me expand this. And you can see these are some of the HTML semantic elements which are defined for the specific purpose. Like, and you can design the page like you have a header, you have a navigation, then you have sections, you have an article inside the sections, you have footer, you have aside. So I will add the link of this page in the description so that you can follow along. And now let's build our profile page. Okay, so let me show you first the profile page which we will be building. It's on 5001 slash, let me go on 5001. Sorry, it's 5501. Okay, and this was the profile page. Okay, so this is the profile website which we want to build. And Now we have learned all those elements and all the tags, and let's design our page using the HTML semantic elements. So what I'll do, I'll just create a new page. I'll just write it, I will make it profile.html, and we will be using, so let's see what we want first. We want a header with the name, and we want a navigation. Then we have one section with some content. Then we have another section, skills, with some content. Then we have a about me section. Then we have a contact section, a form, and then we have a footer. So u- let's use the emit to get our page boilerplate. And yes, so let's change the name to profile page, and let's use the, so we want a header. Okay, so we have an header. Inside the header we have an h1, and the h1 displays my name, Lvia, Malvia. Okay, so now what else we want? So now we are done with the header, and we also have a name. Next we have a navigation. So let's have a navigation. So we have a nav bar. So remember I told you that we have an unordered list to create the menu. So let's have a menu bar. So I want li. How many li's I want? I want 4 li's. And what we have home, skills, about me, and contact. So the first one, so these are links. So we need to have a link tag in it, which will have an href, and we will put it hash for time being, and we will just copy this for others. So we will have a home, then we will have a skills, then we will have about me, then we will have contact, sorry, contact. Okay, so now we have the header done, we have the navigation bar. Now what we want? We want the section. So how many sections we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 sections and a footer. So now let's create 4 sections. So I will write section. Sorry, I want to use emit for 4 sections. So I will write section multiplied by 4. So I have 4 sections, and in the end I have a footer. Okay, so let's create the footer first. The footer, we want this content. Let me add this content in the footer. Okay, now we need to work on the sections. So let's start with the first section. So in the first section, what I can see that I have a background to this section. Although we are not doing CSS in this video, but we will continue this web page in our CSS tutorial, so that we will add all the CSS. In this, I will only show you how you can make the complete HTML page structure. So we have a section, then we have this black layer behind it. So let's make a div for that layer. Then I have a, let's see what tag it's using. So we have h4 and h2. So we have an h4 tag, and then we have an h2 tag, and let's take the content from it. So this is I am, and this. So now we have the section 1 ready. Let's do the next section. We have a skills. Let's see what is skills. We have h3 for the skills, and let's go to the next section, and we have an h3 for skills. And then next, what we have next, we have an image source with images, HTML5. We will give an alt, skills, and then let's save it. Okay, so we have the skills, we have this, let's see what it's, okay, it's have a div and then it have a image. So let's create a div, and inside div it has this image, and the image name is skills. Okay, so we have the second section ready, and now let's see for the third section. For the third section, let's go to third section. Again, we have an h3 and about me, and we have a div, then we have a paragraph. Let's write lorem ipsum. How many paragraphs we have? We have 2 paragraphs. So we will add the second paragraph as well here. P lorem ipsum. Okay, so we have third section as well. Let's go for the fourth one. So in the fourth section, what we have an h3, name is contact, and then we have a form. So let's inspect and check. Yes, we have a form with the div. All right, so let's create a form, and then let's create an input type equals to text and a placeholder. What placeholder it says? It says enter the name. So we'll write enter your name, and then we have the another one which is valid email. So the type will be email this time, and enter valid email. Okay, and next what we have, then it says we have a submit button. So let's put a button, type will be submit, and content will be submit. Okay, so this is the page structure we have. Let me show you in the zoom mode. So this is the page structure we have. Now let's recall everything what we learned. We have a doc type says an HTML5 document. We have an HTML as a root element tag. We have a head tag which says the title of the page and also says the meta content of the page. Then we have a body. We have a header with an h1 name. Then we have a navigation for our menus. Then we have sections, section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4, and footer and body and HTML. So this is the complete page structure. We had our profile page structure. No, so now let's see how it looks when we visit it on the browser. So let me go back, and let me go one more back. Let me refresh it. And yes, I have another, and let me see. So this is how my page looks. So although I understand that this doesn't look same exactly as this one, but yes, the part we are missing here is the CSS. And this is what I want to cover in the next video, where we will be taking a deep dive in CSS properties, elements, how we apply backgrounds and everything. And that's all we had for the HTML tutorial. I hope you liked the video and you learn every HTML tags, and it will help you to build web pages. If you like this video, a thumbs up is appreciated, and you can share the video with your friends, and please subscribe the channel so that you get notified whenever I upload the next CSS video and we can go along with it. So thanks for watching.